I was torn between the Google Pixel 9a and the Nothing Phone 2a. But I ended up going with the Nothing Phone 2a because not only is it a cheaper phone by about 100 quid, it's actually a far better phone in most ways. So first of all is the design, of course, the most important part of any phone. The Pixel is quite bland, and the Nothing Phone has a nice, unique, playful design that is distinctly nothing. No one else does a design like this. And of course, the bezels are much thinner, and they are also still symmetrical, so that's another bonus, especially considering that it is a cheaper phone. It is made of plastic, but it doesn't really bother me too much, as the buttons are still metal, and it still feels good quality in the hand. Now the display is something I really liked about the phone, because it's full HD, so it's plenty sharp and it still gets good battery life, and the bezels are symmetrical, the corners are rounded perfectly, the thickness of them is good, it's just perfect in every way, so I'm a big fan of the display. Unfortunately, the display isn't very bright outdoors, but I live in England, so that's not too much of an issue for me. It is of course a 120Hz AMOLED with somewhere around 3,000 to 4,000 Hz PWM dimming. So the display is great, but if you live in a sunny country, the brightness could be an issue for you. This phone is running the MediaTek Dimensity 7200 Pro. Now, if you're used to flagships like I am, this phone is kinda slow. Now, app launching times are perfectly reasonable, and once you're in the app, they're very quick, but there's just a few things like the camera lags, and when you first launch into the phone with the fingerprint sensor, it's not very quick. You are, of course, not going to be running Genshin Impact or Wuthering Waves at the highest settings, although you could definitely get away with, medium settings and high frame rate. So yeah, basically this phone is perfectly reasonably quick for, normal phone tasks, but if you want to play games or do video editing, this phone just isn't built for that. And another thing is the camera app isn't very quick. It lags when you launch it every time, and when you take a picture, it isn't very quick. Although the pictures do look incredible, and we'll get to that later. I'm editing the video and I realized I've completely forgot to talk about the Glyph interface, the highlight of this phone. So, as you can see on the back, we do have these lights. Now, it's definitely a gimmicky feature, but I actually find them quite useful. They interact with system things like timers, so you can see the progress of a timer like going up. You can use it for volume control as well. You can also use it to see the status of your delivery if you order food offline with Uber Eats and stuff like that. One of the coolest things for me personally as a content creator is that you can use this as a fill light whilst recording. So instead of using a flash, which is quite harsh, you can use this as a softer lighting for your subject when recording. And of course I do light up for notifications and calls, and they sync with the ringtone and that kind of thing. So yeah, do I think it's a gimmick? No, not really. It does actually have practical uses, and I think it's a cool feature. So now you know about the Glyph interface, back to the video. Now as for the battery, it's nothing spectacular. It's 5,000 mAh, which when this phone came out a couple years ago was the market standard, so nothing to complain about. It is a 2-year-old phone. 5,000 milliamps is pretty good. It also has 45-watt charging, definitely on the low end, but it's not painfully slow. It's definitely quick enough for 5,000 milliamps. Now, I remember battery life being absolutely incredible on this phone, like out of this world, even better than my Xiaomi phones with 7,000 mAh batteries. But I've noticed after the new 4.0 update, it's just kind of mediocre. Maybe it's just me. I haven't run proper battery tests on this. It's just, me using it in day-to-day life. I just feel like it's kind of mid battery life now. But with that being said, it will last you the full day, no issues. Also, I forgot to mention, this phone does have 8 gigs of RAM and 128 gigabytes of storage. But if you get the 12 gigabyte model, then app launching times are probably going to be much quicker for you. So yeah, the reason mine is a little bit slow, probably because I have the 8 gig version. And it only costs £50 more to get the 12 gigabyte version, which will be about £300 or £289. Now, as for the cameras, the camera setup is very strong on this phone. So you've got a 1/1.56 inch main sensor, which is the same sensor size as the iPhone 16 and iPhone 17. And the ultra-wide is a 1/2.88 inch sensor, which is slightly smaller than the latest iPhones, but still plenty good enough for an ultra-wide camera. But the main sensor is where it's at, because 1/1.56 inches is upper mid-range flagship territory. And also I'm a huge fan of Nothing's post-processing for their photos. They look incredible. Photos are like a mix between the natural look of Pixel phones and also more contrasty and vibrant looking. You can shoot video at 4K 30 FPS and it actually looks very good, and the stabilization is really good as well. The Pixel 9a, on the other hand, has a 1/2 inch main sensor, which is absolutely abysmal. Like, that's pathetic for a £350 phone. So for this phone, considering it's only £200, that's a pretty good main sensor. Now, as for Nothing OS, you know what I'm going to say. It's literally one of the best Android skins out there. Everyone knows this. It's widely known as one of the cleanest Android skins, because it's basically stock Android, just with a few tweaks and with Nothing's, design over the top of it. So it's not a super Chinesey, fake iOS looking skin at all. It's very clean, stock Android looking, and it's a near pixel experience pretty much. I'm definitely a huge fan of Nothing OS 4.0 as well, as it's added super dark mode, so you can actually take advantage of the AMOLED display to get much better battery life. Nothing OS lets you use custom icon packs by default, so you haven't got to use a custom launcher. There are lots of nice widgets, and the default Nothing icon pack looks really nice and matches all of the widgets. One thing I'd like to point out is that this phone does not have essential space like the newer Nothing phones. So there's no essential space app, and there is no essential space key. But I kind of prefer this, to be honest, because I'm always accidentally pressing that essential space key. So yeah, if you don't mind the lack of essential space, then that's fine. Now, 2 more things you need to know about this phone before you plan on buying it is that it is only IP54 dust, tie and water resistant. So you can take it out in the rain, that's fine, but don't go taking it to the beach, getting it covered in sand and chucking it in the ocean, because it will probably break. And this does use Corning Gorilla Glass 5 for the display, so it's fine for like a 1 meter drop, but it will scratch, and it's Gorilla Glass 5. It's not the latest, strongest glass ever. So I would 100% recommend use a screen protector on this phone. The verdict is, for £200, which is what I paid for mine brand new from Amazon, this is like probably the best phone you can get in that price segment. You can definitely get phones with better performance in this price segment, but I love the design of the Nothing Phone 2a, and I also love Nothing OS. So £200 for good cameras, pretty good battery life, an incredible flagship level display, that is not a bad deal at all in my opinion. And I would definitely absolutely recommend going with this phone over the Google Pixel 9a. If I forgot to mention anything in this video, or you have any more questions, then feel free to ask me in the comments. I reply to all of your comments. Thank you for watching, and hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you in the next one.